YouTube, what is going on, guys? Day one, Nate here. Summer Game Fest has come to a conclusion for day one. And well, there's an announcement that we need to talk about. New World did come out with the announcement of coming to console, but there's speculation. There's speculation that the game is no longer an MMO. We have not seen this dev video at all. This is going to be a live reaction. We are live, so we're going to be talking about it with the chat, as well as there are a couple of links that I have been sent that have basically said the MMO part of New World could be on the out, and we could be seeing a single player and co-op game. Now, the truth behind that, we don't know, but that's what we're here for. So we're going to dive into the dev update video. And then from the dev update video, if we feel as if we need to look deeper, we'll start searching into those links. So let's get to it. Let's see what they have to say. The trailer apparently has shown some new things. I am not fully confident in what it was. I watched it very shortly, but I'm sure we'll get it sent to us and we'll look. But let's dive into the dev update video. Let's see what they have to say.
Through the endless tides of time, they've come to
I can
this
say
mythical
if we do have to buy the game,
shore,
there's no way anyone's buying the game again.
over death itself.
Someone in chat saying Lydia, which is the community manager, said your characters are not going to be taken away or deleted. It's weird that we have to even address that. So they're showing the trailer right here before we even get started. So what are we seeing that's new? I guess
the island's deepest
I want to say that the one mount was new.
where ancient mysteries awaken.
That's new. Yeah, that boss is new.
To unleash the power of legends, where blades and bows unite. Where heroes are forged.
If you guys do get anything regarding New World, please do send it to my DMs, and I'll open it up as we're kind of going through the video.
Demons are born.
That's new. Yeah, this is definitely new. Not sure what that is.
And demons are born.
For a massive living world. Whoa. Play solo or with friends, including crossplay. That was a corrupted mount.
And demons are born.
So we're not hearing anything of MMO right now. We are kind of in a definitive New World experience. It is leading towards it being a
Eternum.
it is leading towards it being a co-op game, which I'm just not sure. Pre-order now and get the Azos Stalker Wolf mount, which was what I saw. So pre-order now. So let's take a look while we're sitting here. Let's go to New World. Has anyone been able to find the okay, hold on. So as we go to Steam, I scrolled all the way down. Let's make sure. Okay. So as we scrolled all the way down on Steam, returning adventurers who own New World base game and the Rise of the Angry Earth expansion on PC prior to the release of New World Eternum will receive a free update that includes all of the new content on October 15th. Those that own the base game but not the expansion will need to purchase Rise of the Angry Earth to access New World Eternum update at launch. So I better get my fucking mount, is all I'm gonna say. So we do get it for free. Let's see what they have to say.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the New World Eternum announcement development update. Announcement? Oh, that's right. We announced console. Woo! And not just console, but anyone who has the PC version of the game and purchased Rise of the Angry Earth is going to have access to all of this as well. So I'm here with Dave and Katie, and we're going to bring out the rest of the team in a little bit, and we're going to tell you about all the things coming in this, starting with storytelling. We're going to tell you the story of Eternum, because it's kind of this crazy, like, lost island. And we're going to tell it through enhanced dialogue system, IGCs, pre-rendered cutscenes. And then we're going to do other things, Dave.
Yeah, we're going to talk about navigating throughout the world, like this third-person, open roaming, mantling, jumping. What's great is it's like an open world you can explore. We're going to talk about the combat. It's action-based combat where, you know, distances, ranges, aiming, all that stuff matters. It's a very kinetic feeling combat.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll also talk about the soul trials, which after you've done your solo experience or, you know, group experience if you like, but this is really geared towards the solo player. So once you've solo experience through max level, you get to do this repeatable endgame content, which is super fun. We're going to dig into that. And then speaking of endgame, there's a big, broad endgame out there. So we're going to dig into the pieces of that. And I'm super excited for that section.
And now we're going to talk about just, Katie mentioned it's a solo or a multiplayer game, and because of that, you know, we have a lot of effort on performance, making it performant for as many players as can get together. Or
this is weird because what she's talking about with repeatable endgame content and whatnot is gearing towards an MMO, but everything else is leading towards it not being
effort into just the overall quality of the game. So when you get it, the experience feels good. Then we're going to wrap it up by getting a bunch of the team members together, and we're going to talk about what's coming next. So why don't you just sit back, enjoy the ride, and have some fun.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob, and this is Nathan and Charles, here to talk about storytelling and really what is the world of Eternum from a narrative perspective. And of course, you know, this is an island. This is the island of legend. It's Eden, it's Shangri-La, it's Atlantis. It's a place, it's a magical, supernatural island that's in the world that's persisted across history. And players quickly learn here that, like, this is a place where you live forever. No one dies on Eternum. But there's all kinds of, you know, magic and stuff that players are going to encounter as they come here from the old world. They set sail from the old world at the beginning of the game. And I think that kind of takes us into.
So we're basically gearing this video towards the new player.
Tell me,
we're going to go
through. No, who is the player?
Everyone wouldn't know.
At the very beginning, the player is kind of the adventurer, the explorer, we kind of set it up so you can pick from your archetypes, because players come with different play styles from other games or other MMOs. So we wanted to kind of give the player a little bit of an open slate.
Sword and hatchet. Great axe warhammer. Bow and spear. Musket rapier, blunderbuss greatsword, lifestaff void gauntlet, ice gauntlet. So classes is what it seems like. A practitioner of primal elemental arts commanding the forces of frost and flame, starts with a boost to jewel crafting, mining, and stone cutting.
Late, but give them buckets to, like, I want to be a healer, I want to be a priest, I want.
Mystic. Starts with a boost to Arcana, Harvesting, and Weaving. So it looks like you're going to get boost per the
I want to be a soldier, I want to be an explorer, I want to be,
cooking,
I'm a ranger.
fishing.
So there's like kind of a starting off point for the player to latch onto their character, but then
Probably
you
like
customize
a
your character,
level.
make it kind of whatever you want from there. But everybody starts with that, like you're this adventurer on this boat sailing to this mythological, mysterious island, and it's sort of the game goes from there.
Yeah, you're on this expedition to explore this fantastical.
So my question is, though, if you're an occultist, does that mean you never get to pick up another weapon? And you're forced to make a new character to play a different class?
Island, and as you sail in, disaster,
concerning.
catastrophic storm strikes, like pretty dramatic moment that we've realized in cinematics, and like it's.
This also looks nothing like New World right now. I'm gonna be honest. Even like this, the characters in this screen, those look nothing like New World.
Huge.
What kind of stuff do you expect on this island? What can the player expect to discover or find as they go there?
You're going to meet characters from history. You're going to meet cultures from history. You're going to encounter ancient Romans, ancient Egyptians. You're going to brush up against characters straight out of Arthurian legend, like Sir Galahad. You're going to brush up against characters who are from real world history, like Grace O'Malley. In fact, is one of your early friends is an Irish pirate of some renown, and each of these characters really gets a lot of attention. Like we've really worked hard on making these characters both fun and interesting, and then also
Again, legit, this doesn't even look like New World.
realizing the way they show up on Eternum, the way that whatever they brought to the
Zero
island, and then the
contact
way
toxic
they've
players
reacted
and
to the
likely
reality
role
of this
players.
place where no one dies and where mythologies come
Yeah,
to life. Those
concerning.
characters are pretty. I feel really good about the way the characters have come out.
So I was going to add, there's also all the supernatural creatures and monsters and things you're going to have to deal with along. You meet these characters, but then they're part of these groups. Like the Corrupted is this horrible, dark, black, demonic stuff that seems to affect characters' minds, and it manifests in a bunch of ways. And then there's the Lost, and they're almost like zombies. They're sort of losing their soul and their sense of self, and they become these sort of husks. And then there's Angry Earth, which is like the plant
Mind
life
you,
of the island
October
sort of
15th
coming
is the
to life
release date
and
of this, too.
manifesting as creatures
still
that are trying to drive
talking,
out all these
like,
invasive forces that are
almost
sort
10
of
months
taking over parts of the island.
before this comes out.
And there's a lot of range within that. All these different creatures you're going to sort of have to deal with and build different strategies and different armor and into sort of the nitty gritty of game mechanics.
And I think we do a really good job actually, like bringing the player through in our kind of first player experience. I think it's quite, really elevated. It's a cinematic experience, really. All these vignettes along the way that we've kept in game as well, and just breadcrumbing the player through the different parts of lore that are going to make more sense as they, get past this process. But we did a good job with that.
Shifting allies who become enemies, conflicts between the characters, like a lot of these come to life, especially in the ways that we've enhanced the storytelling since this game launched on PC a few years ago, where now we have cinematics, many of them. We have an enhanced dialogue system, like the conversation experience is way more cinematic than it used to be, and those characters come to life like never before.
Yeah, and I think we've done actually quite an impressive job in using multiple mediums, I think, with our cinematics and cutscenes. We've got storybook, illustrative animatics, that I think are quite relatable, especially, when we're exploring, really.
So basically the only thing that I can say about this, like thus far, is the reason that nothing's been getting fixed in game is because they basically put the game into a maintenance state for the last year, probably while working on this project. That's all I can think. You got banned from the New World Discord for what?
The old
Looking at the final
characters
shot in the
from old
devs
literature.
and
I think that's really
to
nice
CS:GO.
way to communicate
That's
that.
unfortunate.
And then we have our in-game cinematics too, that are bridging the narrative elements.
I don't
between our
understand
gameplay
the whole
and that's what
mentality
cinematics
behind
are.
banning people.
But I think I'm really proud with what we've done. Is we're really from talking to the players from old. You're really going to see a brand new experience here that's really lifted the narrative. And I think it's great.
Yeah, from the ship to certainly when you shipwreck onto the island now, you're seeing a whole different, this
a whole new
paradise
yeah.
kind of place at first, or it seems that way.
Yes, I would say it's like a whole new experience. The beginning of the game, I think, brings you into the story. It really sets up all the different factions and characters you're going to deal with. It sets up a lot of the initial mysteries that you're trying to figure out as a player. I think it sort of kicks the game off with a bang.
So much effort's gone into this mission with, you know, New World Eternum in lifting up the narrative systems in the game and the narrative as a whole. And I think
Taurus
we've
Land
really
releases
kind of
June 21st.
reached high
GG's. I will be playing Taurus Land.
Successfully got there, you know, and you must have some favorite moments.
I can see why you got
there's almost
banned,
too many lists, but I think what we've done with some of the character introductions, and like Grace O'Malley pops to mind, like very near the beginning of the game, the players are going to bump into this Irish pirate named Grace O'Malley. And
I just think, again, I think they're thinking about the new player, which is fine because I think you need to get new players into the game. But this then feels, again, like another spit in the face to the returning players.
And you walk up and she's on the top of her ship shooting left and right and killing corrupted as they come on her. And it's an awesome scene. And it really depicts who Grace is. She's kind of this badass. She's carrying on a conversation with you while it goes on. And that becomes, I think, part of why she's such a great buddy for the player as you go forward from here. And like, that's just the tip of the iceberg, though. I mean, there's so many great character moments and characters that you get to meet. And I think we have a lot going on with all that. We're super excited for you to come in and experience the world of Eternum, meet the characters we've created, experience this game that's radically different than what came out on PC 3 years ago. So come on in, have fun with us.
All right, let's dive into combat navigation next. I'm joined by Maldo and JR. Let's start out with navigation. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to navigate in Eternum.
Sure, yeah. So we actually just rebuilt navigation from the ground up for Eternum. And that meant redoing all the animations. And the way the game controls is it's very much like other action RPGs that you've played. So you can run around in all directions, regardless of camera. It's not locked behind you. And the game features a lot of verticality, a lot of like ledges and things. So we also have there's like a traversal system. So we have like mantling, we have like vaulting over objects. And that was, just helps with like the smoothness of moving throughout the world.
Nice.
So he's mentioned
Have
action
we
RPG
done any work
now.
on the jump lately?
Yeah, actually. So again, we also redid the jump, and that was largely because we have lots of jumping puzzles in the game. The world designers like to add lots of verticality, as mentioned. And so there's lots of climbing, and there's lots of like jumping on this narrow ledge sort of gameplay. And so we wanted to improve the jump, give it a little more control in the air to help out there.
And last but not least, what about water? What happens when you hit water?
Yeah, so water, the expectation is that you either swim, or float. You don't sink, right? So in Eternum, you also float, but you can also swim. So, and that is a new feature that we just added for.
We can swim! 2.5 years, boys! Round of applause for the team. We can swim. Alrighty.
For this new launch.
Awesome. And Dave, I know you've been spending a lot of time on how it feels to play with a controller in your hand. So how's it feeling?
It's great. It's great. It feels very natural, super smooth. It's a bit of a challenge. There's just the sheer number of things that you can do in the game. Just changing your stance, swapping weapons, special abilities, everything all on the fly, target locking, switching targets. But it feels really solid right now, very natural. We've got some good default setups already that people can choose, but anybody who wants to get super specific and noodle around and rebind keys to be, their favorite control setup, they can do that too.
Yeah, I think you've started to hit it. It just feels natural when I'm playing it these days. Like I run around and it does what I expect it to do, which is great. Nice. Well, let's jump into combat a little bit. Tell us what fighting in combat is like in Eternum.
Yeah, so it's an action RPG, and that extends to the combat. So everything is very action oriented.
This looks awful. I'm gonna just keep it real. We're 1080p. These graphics and like this back here and like even just the oddness of the UI and this just
everything is based on like positioning and hitboxes and timing. There's no auto attack in the game, so it's every button press is a swing or an ability.
Wait, what did he just say?
Positioning and hitboxes and timing.
Their favorite.
Playing at these what fight
and that oriented. Everything is based on like positioning and hitboxes and timing. There's no auto attack in the game.
There's no auto attack. What? What do you mean there's no auto attack? There's auto attack in every game ever.
So it's every button press is a swing or an ability, and at the core of
I think he's saying that it doesn't like attack for you. So this is a brand new skill tree. This is different. There's definitely some things over here that are different as well. He's saying it doesn't have a feature that it just like continues to attack for you.
And your weapon.
They banned so much people on the Discord. Yeah,
and you can have two weapons.
I mean, they had to think for a minute that returning players were going to be semi-upset. And I don't see banning people for being upset. I think it naturally should have thought that was going to be the reaction.
The game basically revolves around, you get your weapon, you apply, you have unlockable abilities. So each weapon has 3 abilities that can be slotted at any time out of 6 possible choices. There's also like passives, and you can choose these as you
the rapier skill tree is completely different
as you earn XP, and you can spend that XP to unlock.
Yeah. Now I love like that sort of feeling of progression you get with your weapons, and like you mentioned, having 2 of them is super fun, right? Like I love like setting up a combo with one weapon, then switching to my damage weapon to sort of get the big execute move. So it's super fun to swap between them.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something that we spend a lot of time on is making sure that all works, that all does what you expect. And that it can support both
I think the constant thing that they keep going with this is like, it does what you expect it to do. We've worked so hard to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. Guys, for 2.5 years, nothing has worked right. So no one is trusting you that this, just because you say it's going to work right. People don't believe you.
Light level of play and like high level of play for like the most skilled players.
Awesome. Dave, what about combat on your side? Anything that has been adjusted or changed lately that you think is really helping out combat?
Yeah, I think I think the biggest, kind of most noticeable addition lately has been all the hit reaction stuff that we've put in. So we want to be really careful with PvP, because PvP is kind of a big and exciting, optional, but big and exciting part of Eternum. But you can't have players just being tumbled and knocked over and sliding around, every time they get hit with a great axe or something. But for enemies doing PvE content, it's absolutely fantastic. You want that weight, you want those meaty thwacks, you want to see them being, hurled into the bushes by what you're doing, whether it's, throwing fireballs at them or swinging a huge hammer around, and that's made the game just feel fantastic.
The UI is killing me.
It's just, it definitely changes.
So
up
they grab
that
New World
solo
itself,
PvE
making it into a solo co-op game,
great.
same thing but different.
JR, what about any sort of
kind of.
assists we've added for combat that are worth mentioning?
Yeah, sure. So I didn't mention, but you control the camera with your right stick, which is typical. But our game has a lot of aiming, right? A lot of positional things. So we wanted to help you out with that aiming by giving you target lock. So target lock is an option. You can swap targets with the right stick when you're engaged in target lock. But target lock isn't like a win option. It's like there's like our projectiles still have travel time. So if your target's moving quickly, you might still miss. But we also
targets the chest, right? So you don't get headshots.
That's true. Yeah. So if you want headshots, you need to aim down sights and and try to hit the head. But also worth mentioning is aim assist. So that was also something we added to help with aiming out both in and out of target lock.
That's awesome. I think the combat and navigation has really come together. I think the teams really worked hard to get it to feel natural. I know I'm having a blast playing it, and I think you all will too. Let's dig into gathering in our trade skill system. I'm joined by Dan and Patrick. Dan, why don't you kick us off and sort of introduce us into how you get introduced into all this part of our game?
Yeah, absolutely. New World is kind of a game where you do awesome combat and you do questing, but then there's also so many side activities. Right away in the game, you get a skinning knife and you hunt a boar and you cook it at a fire for food. You get another tool called a sickle and you use that to harvest
I want to see if that
nearby.
menu is different.
The whole world, it's this kind of place where everything there is ripe for the taking, and you use it. And as you cut plants and cook things, your cooking skill goes up, your harvesting skill goes up. It's just kind of addicting all by itself, and you frequently just forget that you're questing, and you spend an hour just it's great.
One of my favorite is when you chop down a tree, right? Like I love going into an area and seeing someone have deforested the whole place.
That loud, echoey, it's great.
So Patrick, why don't you give us an overview of our trade?
What's happening with game development these years? So the thing is, though, that's so not true, because Korean games right now are in shambles. Like Lost Ark, Throne and Liberty, there's other Korean
Skills,
MMOs
what types
that are
are there?
struggling
How many are
right
there?
now.
It's
Definitely not just
for sure.
Eastern
So I think
games
when looking
are
at New World of
successful.
Turnum's trade skills, there's 3 real pillars to look at. First, you have your gathering trade skills, so logging, mining, skinning, things of that nature, where you're going out in the world and you're finding resources and harvesting those resources. What's really cool about that is as you progress through the world, so too does the items that you're gathering. So instead of mining iron early on, later you're finding mithril or calcum, star metal, all these really cool looking
It looks like
nodes
all of these nodes are really, really big now. For some, unless it's just the angle in which they're playing the game.
So that's gathering. Once I've gathered a lot of cool resources, I bring them back to town. And when we're in town, we enter the refining part of the trade skill loop. So this is smelting, weaving, other trade skills that let you refine those goods you've gathered into usable goods for the crafting portion. Of course, you're not going to show the menu. Which is the 3rd pillar here. That's the actual crafting part of trade skills. So outfitting, weaponsmithing, engineering, arcana, cooking, there's a number of other ones as well. All of these let me take those refined goods and craft them into really cool, usable items. And in most cases, these items are pretty powerful too. So if you're entering gathering and crafting as a early game player, you're making some pretty, I don't know if we can say badass, but pretty badass gear that's going to really carry you throughout those levels and make you much more powerful. So it's super exciting.
That's so not true either, because the gear that you craft throughout the game up until late game where you craft your bisque gear, the gear that you craft throughout is awful.
One of my favorite parts of the game.
It's terrible.
One of the great things in New World of Turnum is there's a trading post, right? So when you make this stuff, then you can sell it to other players, or players can buy it for you, and it creates this sort of player-driven economy, which is really cool.
Just key to the game too. Our
okay, so now we're talking about
out on the market.
So now we're talking about trading posts, but in an action RPG. Is this an Identity Crisis?
The Turnum just so unique. So you can find your niche in that world as that crafter.
Lydia plays on Lilith. I'll believe it when I see it.
On your realm by going about and crafting.
Awesome. Well, those are sort of some of the core trade skill. Any other ones you want to talk about, Dan, and highlight?
Yeah, I mean, the system lets us do other cool stuff that's like we have musical instruments. You get a fishing pole, and there's all these beautiful bodies of water, and the graphics look amazing. So the sun's setting over the water, and you're fishing. It's just it's wonderful. There's riding, so you get your mount, and the more you ride your mount, and the more activities you do with your mount, your riding skill increases, which gives you speed and other power-ups.
I could definitely see them struggling with a dupe
more about endgame,
issue
but
again.
This crafting loop also plays into the endgame a little bit, doesn't it, Patrick?
Yeah, crafting's massive with our endgame. We'll talk more about that later, but as an endgame crafter, you're creating some of the most powerful items in our game. Like I said, as you level up and increase your trade skill, it gets more powerful with you. So endgame crafting lets you create the best items in the game to exactly.
So there is no reason to do the content. what are we doing the content for? If I could just craft everything, I'm going to go on G2G. I'm going to buy up a bunch of gold. I'm not going to get banned for it because God knows they'd never ban anybody for RMT. I'm going to craft the best gear. And then I'm never going to play the game again because I just don't need to.
The specification that you want to create. It's a really cool way to tie kind of the broader world into a lot of those endgame activities that we'll cover later.
Yeah, that control you get out of crafting is a big part of it.
Yeah, it's big. And then one of the other pieces there too is the aptitude system. So the end of crafting, level 250, isn't the end of crafting. Now you can keep going and grind even more levels that will just never end. So I can become the most detailed crafter on my server in weaponsmithing and get great rewards out of that as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining in this deep dive onto crafting and gathering. I think, what makes it special for me is like what you were talking about. Like, there's such density in the world of New World Eternum. There's always something to do. You can gather this, mine this. It keeps you busy. It's super fun.
It's hard to stay on track.
Yeah,
there's so much stuff to do.
Just make it a
there,
survival
New World
game
Eternum
then.
players. I'm here to talk to you about Soul Trials. So you've already heard a little bit about our combat, and Soul Trials are where you get to put some of that combat to work. So what is a Soul Trial exactly? Well, if you like to play solo, more by yourself than in any of our team fights.
I love how this is New World. This isn't New World Eternum. So we're showing old recycled content. The game isn't going to look like this, and it's not going to function like this either.
Then Soul Trials are going to be really exciting for you. That's your opportunity to fight one-on-one with combatants in New World, and it's also a really good opportunity to showcase some of the Eternum story. So I'm here with Rob, who's going to tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah, what's so cool is, I mean, when we first started this, we were only able to do a couple of these, but like, now we've got them in almost like all the big moments of the story, have these great climactic fights where oftentimes you're facing up against characters.
This is not New World Eternum. This is New World. Unless the only thing that I can think is that, because I've never seen this, unless I just missed it, the only thing that I can think is that the game on console is going to look entirely different from the game on PC. And if the game looks entirely different on PC than it does on mobile, that's even more of a smack in the face to all of the returning players, because we're getting even less content that we were getting before.
You've met somewhere else in the world, and now you're having this showdown with them in this awesome instance, and they've got all these special moves, and there's a lot of challenge in the fight. And it's kind of cool because it's something that I haven't seen done in an MMO before.
Yeah, and it takes you to a lot of different
So now he just said MMO. So is it an MMO? Is it an action RPG? What the fuck is it? Excuse my French.
worlds. You get to go into the world of corruption. You get some heartbreaking moments and a lot of different environments. There's a lot of artistic storytelling too.
For sure. These are kind of like capstone spaces, I think, too, visually, because it's a very controlled space. You're going into this basically like one-on-one arena against whatever the bad is that you're facing. And I think we tried to really make them visually be that capstone as well.
Oh, so by the way, those are solo trials. So that whole like co-op thing, right? Like the whole co-op thing. Yeah, you can't do soul trials with multiple players. So it's not truly a co-op game. Kind of, but not really.
Like we really want to ratchet up that drama, so it feels like this climactic moment that you have to deal with in the story, and then you progress on to the open world and do other things. But I think they got a lot of extra attention visually.
And it's super exciting too, that they are repeatable at endgame. Like you could play these things as many times as you like, which I think was something that we really wanted, since so much attention was put into making these fights interesting. Like to be able to replay them and kind of perfect your approach, I guess, strategically.
Yeah. even back to some of the ones that players may have missed. So if you're just joining us now and you didn't get a chance in some of the earlier seasons, some of the temporary trials are going to be coming back. So whether you're a new or returning player, you're going to get a chance to play all of those unique fights that we have to offer.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the end game and some of the rewards you'll get from this Soul Trials?
Yes, so Soul Trials are a really good chance to play a solo gameplay. You've got your expeditions and team fights, but you've also got really great gameplay just on your own. And you can still get all of the great loot that you can get in all of the group and team content. You can still get some great loot in the solo content. And as far as endgame goes, we're going to hand that off to the next group to talk about that.
But guess what, guys? You can do all that content, but you just craft your gear anyways. So it doesn't really matter. Congrats.
Patrick, why don't you kick us off with what is Endgame?
Yeah, so in New World, when you've reached level 65 and completed your main story quest, you enter the part of the game we call Endgame. At this point, you're starting to chase higher gear score, go and conquer different challenges, harder content, and that's when the game really starts to open up to like a broad variety of activities.
Yeah, that's what I like about it, because you know the story is a little bit more linear. You follow a set path, but when you hit endgame, like the choices are so vast.
Absolutely.
So Dan, why don't you talk a little bit about some of those early choices? So I just entered early endgame. What are some things I might be doing?
Yeah, I would say so. The game kind of starts to open up a little bit just before you hit max. So like you'll get access to Outpost Rush. You'll get access to arenas.
What is Outpost Rush for new players?
Sure, Outpost Rush is so we have a few kind of instanced game modes on offer, both PvE and PvP. Outpost Rush is a PvP 20v20. Kind of like, capture the point in battle game mode. It's pretty cool. Then we have arenas, which that's 3v3 PvP.
Oh, so by the way, returning players, we're not changing Outpost Rush. Sorry. I know you guys were looking for that, but we don't think it's worth doing.
I mean, but like a lot of it's a lot more organic than just the instant stuff, obviously. So like, one of the things that I know I like to do is like once you kind of get to max level, then you kind of start focusing on your skills. We have, gosh, I don't even know how many trade skills we have. You can max all those out. You can do musical performances and max those out. Fishing, you can go around the world and do elite chest runs. You can do portals.
And what are portals? Because portals are fun if you're new to the game.
Yeah, so portals are they're kind of cool because you see them in early game. Like the world just kind of turns red and tries to kill you all of a sudden. Then later, when you're like super powerful, you can come back to these random kind of like throughout the world, the kind of corruption takes over and starts to like invade your reality. And you can like take them on solo. You can try, or you can get a group and go in and farm them out for resources and cool gear.
Yeah, what I like about that is there's something for everyone, right? If you're a total solo player, you got Soul Trials. If you want to play with big groups, you got things like Invasions. If you want to play with a smaller group, you didn't mention much about the expeditions, our dungeon-like experiences.
Yep, that's another good example of like you start experiencing those through leveling, and then when you get to max level, then like they all become available.
Nice. So let's say I've been playing a little bit now, Patrick, and I'm nearing more of like the mid to late end game. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure thing. So kind of going off that PvP, PvE split. As a PvP player, as Dan already mentioned, you have Outpost Rush, which is a great intro. If you want to take that a step further and really hone in on coordination, you hop into our War mode. This is 50v50, epic siege of a fort, and offers pretty great rewards. Other options for PvP players include the reward track. So all of the PvP you're doing gives you a PvP experience, which leads me to the PvP reward track, which has awesome rewards on it. Great opportunity to get gear up to gear score 700, some unique artifacts. And then on the PvE side of things, we have mutated expeditions. So those, the dungeon-like experience we just talked about. There's harder variants of that, so M1, M2, and M3. With M3 offering the very best gear for those experiences up to gear score 695 to 700.
Oh, but guys, by the way, that gear that you get, it doesn't matter because the gear that you craft is still better.
Really great opportunity to coordinate with a small group of people and take on a pretty difficult challenge as those change week to week. Other big opportunity there for the PvE side is the raid. So yeah, introducing New World's first linear raids with 3 bosses, each boss progressively harder than the last, and they require pretty elaborate teamwork from a group of 10 players to get the highest gear score gear in the game, capping out at gear score 725. So the raid is a super unique experience, and I'm beyond excited for players to hop into that one.
Yeah, that's super.
Wait, so what did
What about
they?
teamwork from a group of 10, 695 to 700? Really great opportunity to coordinate with a small group of people and take on a pretty difficult challenge as those change week to week. Other big opportunity there for the PvE side is the raid. So yeah, introducing New World's first linear raid, so 3 bosses, each boss progressively harder than the last, and they require pretty elaborate teamwork from a group of 10 players to get the highest gear score gear in the game, capping out at gear score 725.
This is the
So
first
raid
good
is a
thing
super
that
unique
I've heard yet.
experience, and I'm beyond excited for players to hop into that one.
Yeah, that's super fun.
Yeah.
What about on the PvP side? Anything
Yes.
new else that you want to mention?
There is a free-for-all area coming for the PvP experience. So this will be an opportunity to hop into this as a one-off player. It's very different from anything we've built in New World. This experience allows you to go kill other players, loot chests, kill enemies, and get what we call mystic doubloons out of it. Taking those doubloons to a shop lets you buy some of the best gear in the game, and it's a really thrilling experience, gets the heart going, and I'm really excited to see how players like it.
Yeah, I think it's fun whether you want to be a killer and look for people, and also I'm more of like a gatherer. I love going around trying to get all the chests or gather stuff and then run out before someone gets me.
Yeah, and I love to kill the people doing exactly that, so it's super fun.
It kills me a lot. So Dan, I'm a new.
So yeah, we keep using this best gear in the game thing. I think the raid is really good. I mentioned this a few weeks back. I think that New World really kind of jumped the gun when they went to the 20-person raid. I think they could have went 10-man raids, multiple gates, and kind of went through like that process before jumping into the 20-man raid. And I think they could have done that multiple times, but I think they kind of missed the beat on that. But like, again, no one really asked for a free-for-all area. No one really asked, like, no one really wanted a zone that you went and like got the best quote-unquote gear from. Because like there really isn't going to be any replayability in that, because there just isn't going to be. Like, oh, you're going to go there one time a day, get all the stuff that you can get. It's going to get put on a 24-hour cooldown, which I'm sure it's going to. And then you're just not going to go back there until tomorrow. And then, in all due respect, I don't want to make like enemies, but like, then you're going to go to this spot where you're going to have League of Leandril with 40 players in a free-for-all area, which they say is going to be free-for-all, but it's not going to, because you know that people are going to be able to find ways to team up. Or you're going to have groups like the Musket Union that are going to be basically controlling the area, because it's not going to be a free-for-all area. It's going to eventually, some way, somehow, turn into a Zerg area, because it's going to be better. It's going to be better for you to play in a Zerg than it is for you to play as a solo player, which the solo player is just not going to survive. So
New player, so much fun stuff to do. Is there any way to sort of help me find all this fun stuff?
Absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of these, you can access these from the map as you explore through the leveling experience, but then also from the menu, there's a screen called Activity Finder, which kind of like, it's a one-stop shop for all these activity types, and it gives you access to the matchmaking pool, which, we have a few different varieties of how you can matchmake, including just like a, click, and then it enters the system and finds you a group to play with.
Yeah, and now we have some actual matchmaking in some of the modes, like in arenas, which I think will be big.
Yeah, it definitely is going to help a lot. Make sure that the game is like kind of at your right challenge level.
So what if I'm like not into?
Oh, so we matchmake arenas. So on top of that, guys, I know that you've been struggling with OPR because the game just OPRs just don't feel good, and I know you've been asking for matchmaking, but sorry guys, we're gonna put it in arena where right now it takes you 40 minutes to find an arena match anyways, because people stop playing it because they're sick of the mode.
All this power progression and up-leveling my gear. Is there anything for me to do in the endgame, Patrick?
So everyone knows the most important endgame feature is fashion. So there's transmog. There's thousands of appearances in New World that I can go chase. When I get an item, I unlock that appearance in my collection, and then I can transmog that appearance into a wearable piece of armor that I can slot onto any piece of gear I have equipped. So if I really like this cool eye patch I find, I can transmog that and change any helmet I have into that cool eye patch. The other side of things is housing. Housing in New World is pretty robust, and we have a lot of really rare housing items, such as a goldfish bowl, that you can go find throughout the world. And if you find those, they're awesome collector's items. They sell for a ton of coin, and they're pretty prestigious items to find. So go and hunt down that cool fashion, that cool housing items, and that's an awesome solo end game right there.
Awesome. Hey, well, thanks for joining me to talk about the end game. I really love this part about New World Eternum. It's where the game opens up. You sort of get to find your own path. What do you like to do? I think there's something for everyone to enjoy here in the end game.
Hey everybody, I'm Scott, and I'm joined today by Dave and Andy, and we're going to talk about the performance and quality improvements in New World Eternum. So I think we can all agree, like, our game feels the most fun when you're playing with lots and lots of people in the world, and it feels full and populated. What are some of the things we've been working on to give us that feeling when you're playing the game?
Sure. So first thing, we're adding crossplay support to console. It's going to roll out on Xbox and PlayStation. And really what this is going to do is make the worlds feel more alive. You're going to be able to play with your friends on multiple platforms. You're going to be quest with them, play together on everything you would be able to do on PC. So we think, with crossplay being reintroduced with console, it's going to feel like a great experience.
Nice. And so when we have all these Xbox and PlayStation and PC players playing together, we need to make sure that we can put them all in the same world and stuff. So what kind of tech have we added to help with kind of like our population density?
So again, like we talked about, the problem is that how are you possibly going to put a console player, like, if these worlds are going to be cross-world, PC players are inevitably still going to control PvP. They're still going to control territory control. This legitimately opens up no opportunity for console. Console players are going to get the same treatment that new PC players are getting right now and are inevitably going to stop playing.
So we've added both tech to get you into the game faster, so that we can eliminate any queues at the beginning of the game to get people in there, as well as tech to allow players to be a lot more dense, so you can have more people in combat at the same time in the same area.
All right, so then the queuing tech that you're talking about, like, it's going to apply no matter how many people are waiting to play. We're going to be able to get them in.
But it's not rebranding an MMO to an ARPG because
large volume of players into the worlds that they choose.
They're still talking about the fact that this game is going to operate like an MMO.
And if that world's not available, then we're going to allow you to select the world of your choice so that you can immediately play the game.
That's awesome. And so that's a lot of optimization work we've done and iteration on the combat experience and different kind of like key experiences when like lots of people are in town, lots of people are in combat, things like that, to make it so that we can like show all of that at like good frame rates and like basically we want it to play great and it will. So then on the visual side, what are some of the other big features that players can look forward to?
Sure. So there's been a lot of work that's been done on the game to help just with asset loading and optimization as a whole across the game. And really this all goes towards the benefit of improving performance on console. The engine has gone through an overhaul and we've added 4K support, HDR support. Really what that means is on your console, when you're playing on your big screen TV, it's going to look great. So a lot of time and effort's gone into just making it feel like a brand new engine when you play on console. Well, it is a brand new engine, essentially.
And PC players are going to be able to take advantage of that as well.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, that's all we've got for today. We could dive deeper into the weeds, but we'll save that for future videos. We'll have deeper dives into this and other topics. And, with all these improvements, the game is going to feel great, and we can't wait for you all to play it. So thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks everybody. We covered so much, but there's still a lot more to talk about. On top of that, we are just so excited to bring a tournament to all of you console and PC players around the world. Stay tuned for more information, including updates on closed beta. But other than that, we will see you
in the tournament.
Closed beta, huh? What are we testing? What happens to New World, not New World Eternum? What happens to our characters? What happens to all of our skills that we've already leveled up, that we've already went through? What is the game? An MMO? Is it not an MMO? What are we like? What is happening? Why did we not explain any of this? This video was built exactly. This video was for all of the new console players, but we didn't mention the fact that you still have players playing the game. So what happens now? I guess we'll find out. YouTube. I'm speechless. I'm left with questions without answers. We'll definitely get those answers over the next few weeks, I'm sure, and which we'll continue to make videos about. Comment, like, subscribe. We'll be covering a plethora of games, and as we get new info, we'll be sharing it. And I'll see you guys all in the next one.